This is Scott Becker with the Becker Private Equity Podcast. Today's podcast is titled Great Leaders Pay Down Debt, 3 Key Points. So one of the things in business that's one of the least sexy or exciting things to do for a leader, and it seems very similar for people running nations, is to pay down the debt of the company or pay down the debt of the country. Now, great leaders do this regardless of the fact that it's not sexy or exciting. It does multiple things. Paying down debt makes the company less fragile. And that's never been more clear than in this rising interest environment we've seen over the last year. As interest rates for private equity sponsored companies, the debt that they take on has gone from 5 to 7% to 10 to 14% in no time at all. That means is the rates have gone up 500 to 600 basis points. If you're holding $50 million in debt, that's another $2.5 million in interest cost a year on top of what interest costs you had already. And this gets into serious impact of cash flow. Now, it's not sexy to pay down debt, but it makes you anti-fragile. The other thing that it does, when you pay down debt, you've got these two different, people on different shoulders. You've got finance people saying, don't pay down debt because as a private equity fund or an investor, we want a bigger return on equity. And by having debt out there, we've got lower equity in, which means that the company's profitable. We've leveraged those returns better. That's a financial person's view of the world. An operator's point or view of the world is, I need less debt to have more cash flow so I can keep on taking chances and invest in people and invest in projects and invest in things and do more things. So there's contrast between the finance side and the operation side. Obviously, the right answer is always somewhere in between. But when companies have excessive debt, it really does put a lot of strain on your ability to operate how you want to operate and hire the people you want to hire. Thus, we very much believe, as we've said in the title of this podcast, great leaders pay down debt. I won't get into the federal debt fight between the Republicans and the Democrats, other than to say the truth on this, again, is somewhere in between. But I'm a big believer that too much debt strangles companies, nations, households, and everybody else. So, again, the title today is Great Leaders Pay Down Debt. It's not sexy. It's not exciting. It doesn't get the street all in jitters like Bob Iger's job cuts do at Disney or Amazon's job cuts do by Andy Jassy, but it's great business. Thank you for listening to the Becker Private Equity Business Podcast.